Okay, let's try that. And, alright, so we're going to be looking at the arguing chapter. Let me turn on noise reduction. This is why I don't film outside. Alright, but we've got everything. Charge the phone. We wanted to do this a few hours ago. So, we're in chapter 7, arguing, of David McRaney's How Minds Change. And we're looking at page 185. I think I might just read a couple things that are interesting to me. And then we're going to read 2 pages. So page 185. For years I had used these examples to demonstrate the power of motivated reasoning. Further still, and the research on this is clear, the more intelligent you are and the more educated, the more data at your disposal. The more data at your disposal, so more intelligent you are, the more educated, the more data at your disposal, the better you become at rationalizing and justifying your existing beliefs and attitudes, regardless of their accuracy or harmfulness. Basically, when motivated to find supporting evidence, that's all we look for. Then he's got some cool experimental examples of that. Never mind, we don't have time. Now we're on 186. When there are few downsides for making mistakes, we prefer to search for evidence that confirms our assumptions. Even inside our own memories, when we find that evidence, we produce biased arguments to defend what feels like confirmation. A lifetime of doing this leads to worldviews that feel like they are based on careful, meticulous research and pure, unadulterated reason. See, that's the trap that smart people can fall into. And so it's really frustrating because I want to be able to find humility in smart people. I promise you that my worldviews are not based on careful, meticulous research and pure, unadulterated reason. I promise. I don't even think I'm capable of reason. There certainly has been careful, meticulous research. Most of the stuff that I learn, I just take it at face value. I don't further investigate it, and even that face value, it's just my interpretation. That's why we need to work together, so that you can try to catch some of my mistakes, I can catch some of yours, and we can do good together. I used to think, now listen to this, because, all right, we got to go back a second. 1. David, yesterday I was talking about how, I'm just trying to continue Darwin's work. And then in one of the videos that I made yesterday, I was really liked with something David McRaney had said. And also was the fact that he reminded me, it was just a whole bunch of stuff I was thinking about at one time. And it was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I give David McRaney enough credit. Fuck Eris. Darwin to McRaney, bro. McRaney is putting the words to what the research has been saying. He's just a regular dude, a smart journalist dude, and he wrote, "You are not so smart, and you are now less dumb," because even though that wasn't his background, he's from Mississippi, and he was just like, I'm confused by all the different disagreements in the world and the mistakes, and he had to know more, and then he had to teach other people. So we're really kin, bro. But one thing I haven't loved is I feel like he is often violating Morgan's canon. Bro, hang on a second, dude. All right, so today is Liber 21 Deldi, and I'm making this screenshot here for the definition of Morgan's canon. And, oh man, what a missed opportunity, because I guess I'd forgotten what Morgan's canon. Whatever I'm about to say about Morgan's canon, what I meant to say, the reason that Morgan's canon is there is because humans activity should not be interpreted in terms of higher psychological processes if it can be fairly interpreted in terms of processes which stand lower in the scale of psychological evolution and development. We love to talk about magical reasoning and stuff. And what about more, why can't we describe a behavior as more automatic mechanism is an addendum to some other principle. And maybe I'm going to... Morgan's canon, correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't matter. The idea, you correct me, but tell me what it's called. But the idea is the same. Whatever it's called, I think it's Morgan's canon. Writers, or, a person mustn't attribute things like intelligence, intention, reason, things that only angels have, to animals. Now, that's my phrasing of Morgan's canon, because actually Morgan's canon, if it's Morgan's canon, says that you shouldn't apply the uniquely human traits and features such as reason, intelligence, intention, and all that stuff. Those shouldn't be applied to other animals. I say all that shit's an illusion, and it should not be applied to humans either. We, like other animals, we just imitate it better than other animals. These things like intention and so on. So what frustrates me is that David McRaney often violates my version of Morgan's canon by, even though so much of what he's saying is showing how we are these sort of unreliable machines, he keeps sometimes using language that anthropomorphizes it, that attributes too much magical intention and stuff. So, for instance, on page 186, he says, thanks to confirmation bias, when motivated to find a reason for a hunch, we don't always employ our reasoning in pursuit of the truth. And I'm just a little uncomfortable with that sentence. Employ our reasoning. I mean, it's not really that sentence by itself that bothers me. It's mostly the illusion that you can just go like this and turn on your reasoning. And that's not what he is saying in this. But I just worry that a reader would go, oh shit, sometimes we don't employ our reasoning in pursuit of truth? Oh, okay. From now on, I'm going to employ reasoning in pursuit of the truth always. And most of the time, we didn't evolve. Anyway, hold on. But before I get carried away, listen to what he says further down the page. And I've already read the next 2 pages, I think. I'm going to read it to you because I couldn't get any farther because I just kept thinking about reading it to you. I used to think examples like these demonstrated just how flawed and irrational our reasoning is. But after spending time with scientists who study how reasoning evolves and how we employ reason during disagreements, which is where we're headed next, I now see things a bit differently. Oh! Is David McRaney going to show Eris how actually it is somewhat meaningful to say that, like, to use the word reasoning to talk about the thinking systems that we have? And by the way, we just have to be careful with words. For me, the way reason is most typically considered, we don't have. But we have reactions that are similar to reason, but they are not reasonable themselves. Just like how a computer can learn Chinese or whatever, but you would be like, does the computer understand Chinese? It's kind of like that. There's like a missing thing. We use words that we don't really understand in the full, and it's not even. Anyway, all right. To understand, we need to go back to when our ancestors spent most of their time in trees. The anthropological evidence suggests our ancestors spent most of their time up in the branches eating leaves. Since many mature leaves are toxic, primates like us who didn't develop the digestive power to deal with toxic leaves developed a behavioral solution instead. They stuck to the trees with the youngest leaves. The problem with mostly eating young leaves is that it requires a large territory. A group foraging for leaves will quickly strip a single tree, and so our lineage evolved territoriality on top of our existing leaf-eating behavior. Territories can't be shared with other groups, not enough leaves to go around. They need to be defended. And so we developed tribal behavior on top of our territoriality. That gave our special mix of genes an advantage. First over all the other animals, and then over the other groups of our own kind, and then over our family versus all the others. It gave a special mix of it gave it the special mix of genes gave an advantage over our family versus all the others. I think that's a typo. I think it means like made our family have an advantage over all the others. Stronger together, we became leaf-munching, territorial, social animals, bound by trust that was hard to earn and easy to lose. Defending against your own kind requires kinship, and that requires identification. We evolved the ability to tell our own group members from other members of our species through signals, smells, and hoots and barks. That signaling had side benefits as well. When any member can signal danger to all the others, the whole group benefits. So the thinking goes that hominids like yourself first evolved the ability to read one another's emotions, then to communicate with intent, and over time the ability to communicate with a goal in mind. And it's not really a violation of Morgan's canon, but it's just like the implication or how it's feeling like it's almost a violation. Imagine 3 proto-humans on a hill, each looking in a different direction. Check out a video I just recorded. So today is 2023 Libra 21 Deldy, in which that is about this book. So I should have a playlist for this book, and it should be the first one, or maybe the second. I feel like, yeah, I think it should be the first one. And I talked about how we had these capacities for quote unquote rationality, but we fuck it up because our values are all screwed up. We're all like, oh, tradition is important. Oh, I have to protect my beliefs and so on. Anyway, so I'm watching this. Well, you just watch it because I think I'm going to splice this in. I'm watching this, and what do I say? I say, I'm reading David McRaney from page 187. And he talks about the power to pool each individual's perspective into a shared worldview. I just did an interview a few minutes ago after recording the video I just talked about. This video was recorded weeks ago. After the video about this book, I did an interview on the beach. And this was one of thousands of people in my life who had talked to me about people having different perspectives and gone from people have different perspectives to there are different truths. And that step is wild. Because if you, as I'm in this video here, when I'm in Valencia on the beach here with the rocks, the power to pool each individual's perspective into a shared worldview. That's an incredible tool. But then what happens today? We don't pool them into a shared worldview. Instead, we take each individual perspective and go, okay, so that's a true worldview. Some people, that's a true worldview. That's a true worldview. That's a true worldview. Hold on. We're not supposed to just assume that everybody's perspective gives the whole truth. We're supposed to compare the perspectives and pool them into a shared worldview. We're supposed to put them together through a dialectic process. We're halfway there in valuing the perspectives of other people. That's great. But we're not supposed to value those perspectives as being themselves truths. No, they are perspectives on the truth. And we have to compare those perspectives. You got to picture from here, picture from here, picture from here, and then you've got a 3D visual. Of course, with a little critical recognition, knowing that no person's perspective was actually a perfect sort of rendering. None of how they saw the thing was a perfect rendering of what it was. So it may be good to have someone else from their check from their perspective as well. God damn it. I just realized they're standing in the same position, looking in different directions. I mean, whether or not it's 3 people around an object, seeing it from different angles, or 3 people together looking out at the world from 3 different directions, it's the same shit. If I see down this side of the hill, and you see down that side of the hill, and I say there's no attack, and you say there is an attack, or there is a prey, or whatever, what we mustn't then do is go, oh, okay, respect my opinion. From my perspective, with the information that I have, there is no attack. And the other guy's like, okay, I hear that, But, there's not just one truth. From my perspective, there is an attack. And then the community as a whole goes, wow, so amazing that we're able to talk about these two perspectives without imposing any truth or anything on anybody else. And we're just able to respect and blah, blah, blah. That community then, of course, died. So we are devolving. That culture of wanting to treat each perspective as a truth is a sort of a de-evolution, cognitive de-evolution, okay? That's such a good skit. All right, we'll make that. We'll make that. Or you make that with your friends. Make it where it's like three people that they're looking out on the plains, each one in a different direction, and then each opinion has to be like respected and stuff like that. Because, hey, we all have different backgrounds, we all have different perspectives, points of view, so what's true for me might not be true for you, blah, blah, blah. The power to pool each individual's perspective into a shared worldview without turning to see what the others were seeing was an enormous evolutionary advantage. Scale it up, add abstractions, and you've got yourself the vital intellectual gumbo we call culture. Under the pressure to survive, with the availability of peer-to-peer communication, proto-humans developed an array of tools and capacities, including language, facial expressions, empathy, shame, embarrassment, mirror neurons, and emotional contagion. The human brain became incredibly adept at using and manipulating signals to get ideas out of one's head and into another. As all these complex data got traded back and forth, a shared model of the environment, a communal worldview, came into focus. Without the influence of other groups to get in the way, each member's worldview was broadly similar to that of other members trying to make sense of rocks and rivers and goats and clouds. Depending on the unique problems any one group faced, in many ways the worldview of that group was unique to the members who shared it. Each worldview evolved over time, much the way genes do. Norms and ideologies, rituals and practices, values and beliefs were imperfectly copied from brain to brain and updated between them as those brains regularly met up and traded news, taught skills, and explained the mysterious. These waves are coming up. Right. This system worked extraordinarily well, but as it developed, it also introduced a new dilemma. All those individual sources of information weren't passive observers objectively recording, the other people, weren't passive observers objectively recording and reporting on reality. And in such a rich information pool with so many individuals with their own personal goals, even a trusted peer might want to deceive or mislead so that they might gain at another's expense. And remember, everybody's happy to motivations explain our differences, and people just want to, trick you, and that's why they have these different beliefs. I hate associating with that, because the brain's already good at associating that. What about all the other shit? And and we over associate with that. Oh boy, we gotta hurry. Genes are selfish that way. Even when the intentions of a peer were good, what about all the other shit? Each brain could only add to the pool what it could observe, confounding the process further. Brains are prone to making errors and may misinterpret what they attempt to pass along. Communication, no matter how useful, is bound to be imperfect. So I'm glad that I don't think he needed to even mention the malevolence. It's like, what's his fucking name? It's also in the This Explains Everything playlist. Majrin Barani. I don't remember. But he said, a lot of the sort of things that we think are people being mean in the world, it's really just because we're just brains. And we're just making mistakes all the time. And then not seeing our own mistakes, of course. Despite this imperfection, since no one person can see the little picture clearly, nor see the big picture by themselves, receiving a constant flow of information from as many other people as possible would have been too valuable to give up. And come on, we need to work together, you and me. Information from our peers and our kin was, for most of our evolutionary history, vital to our very survival. So we developed a tool that comes online when we're on the receiving end of a data transfer. It's called epistemic vigilance. All right, I'm cold, and I don't like holding this. Anyway, that's where I stopped reading, and I was like, oh my god, it's epistemic vigilance. First of all, what does that mean? Second of all, if it means what I think that it means, are you going to say that we sort of do have some epistemic vigilance? And then are you going to tell me why, despite our epistemic vigilance, people aren't like, or maybe like we're misapplying our epistemic vigilance? And what does epistemic vigilance have to do with epistemic, or what I usually call intellectual humility? All right. Oh my gosh. All right. The vehicles. All right. I got to go. We do this with dogs as well. That's why Morgan's canon exists, because a lot of times when we're describing animals, we'll attribute all of these high-level cognitive features, even though they, maybe they're not jealous and that's why they came over when you were petting another dog. Let's say you're petting a dog, your dog comes over. It's not because, oh, they were jealous and they came up with this plan, blah, blah, blah. No, it's like they saw touches were being given out and they saw an animal was close to their master, and those two things just triggered the behavior of approach. And I hope that makes sense, but great.